Hi, I'm Suhas, your friendly neighborhood barista, and I'm back to show you a video of how to make an espresso or a latte or a cappuccino, or for that matter of fact, any Italian beverage using a Flair at home. So let's just dive into it right away, and then I'll tell you what is the equipment that you need at home to make a perfect cappuccino that is of cafe quality. First up, you need a kettle. I'm using a Brewista kettle. It's a 1.2 liter kettle. It's a temperature control kettle. That's super important because you need to know what temperature you're brewing your coffee at so that you can replicate it again or fix the recipe. Next, I have a Felicita grinder, which is super versatile, tiny, that can grind espresso grind size, mocha pot grind size, pour over, cold brew, French press, whatever that you need. It's a super compact grinder as well. That's something that I really like about it. It's made of 100% metal. That's cool about it as well. And next up, we have the Flair Signature, which comes with the pressure gauge. That's what I'm going to use. It has a brewing chamber or a dosing chamber of 12 grams of coffee. So I'm going to be using 12 grams today as well. Then I have a Akaya scale, which I have popped under the Flair, but you could use any scale that you want. You can use Time-More as well, which is much more affordable. Then I have a D-Fluid scale. Not necessary that you have two scales. Just for ease of operation today, I have two scales because I was weighing my coffee. I'm using my dosing cup, of course. And then I have my yet to be launched morning steamer. Super advanced steamer meant for houses and then small coffee shops, bakeries, etc. Has a lot of programmable features on it. I can choose alternate milk, skim milk, whole milk, and I can do a custom steam as well if I wanted to. I can set the temperature at which you want the steaming to cut off at. That's something unique about this because every single time you get the exact same temperature. You can also program the amount of steam that it pumps in per second and the duration, etc. So let's just straight get into it, and then you can have a look at everything that I do. Let's make a latte today. Yeah, I'm feeling like latte today. So let's make a latte. All right. So first, what do I do first? First thing that I do, I grab my beans, 12 grams pre-dosed, saving time. I put it into my grinder. All right, turn it on. I grab my brew chamber or my dosing, let's call it a portafilter, right? So this is essentially what a portafilter does in a big espresso machine. This thing does the exact same. So I'm grabbing my portafilter, the Flair portafilter. The coffee is getting ground, smells phenomenal. I usually like using medium grind size, medium roast level or medium to dark roast levels on the Flair. It does a much better job, but light roast also work great. You just have to go a little more finer when you're using a lighter roast on a Flair. And also the water that I'm using is at 96 degrees because ideally I want the water that I would be brewing this coffee in at 90 degrees. This is a chunk of metal that sits on top of the brew chamber or the portafilter rather, and this takes away a lot of energy. This takes away a lot of temperature out of the water. So I use 6 degrees higher than what I actually need to make sure that I get 90 degrees water when I'm brewing the coffee. So the coffee is ground. I have a bellow on top so that I make sure there is no retention in the grinder. All of the coffee is down there. This one's the messy bit. Well, you could use a smaller dosing cup if you wanted to. Slow and nice so that I don't spill any coffee. I tap the coffee so that I settle that in. Like in your big espresso machines, even the Flairs have channeling happening in their portafilters. So to avoid that, you try to distribute the coffee as well as possible. Well, there you go. I've dosed all the 12 coffees. I took a lot of time because I didn't want to waste a single gram of coffee. And we make these distributors. This is meant for the small, tiny Flairs. We probably are one of the only ones in the world that manufacture these distributors for the Flair. So I pop that in. I distribute the coffee. Nice and clean. Then I have the tamper by the Flair itself. I tamp. Try not to tamp too hard because these are not like your big espresso commercial machines. You don't need to tamp that hard. I put in the filter on top, pop that into the chamber. There you go, nice and snug. Then I take the water that's 96 degrees. I pour it. There's a small tiny mark inside the Flair until where they recommend that we pour the water. I've poured it up until there. Then this is the pressure gauge. I can also pressure profile. So at this price point, at this level, there is no other equipment in the market in which you can pressure profile. So this shows me the pressure that I'm brewing at. So I just put that in. I don't really have to press it hard, I just have to place it there. I've tiered my scale, and now for the plunge. I start the timer. I'm going up to 3 bar pressure now. Let's say this is pre-infusion, right? I've pre-infused. I'll let that sit for a couple of seconds, and then I go all out. All right, so now my second push, I'm going quite slow. If you see, I'm doing a long, slow shot of coffee. I'm extracting at a good 9 bar and I stop at 25 grams. So I did a long shot that is about 45 seconds. It's quite different from semi-automatic or a professional coffee machine. Hence, I chose to do it very slow to get higher flavor extractions. I didn't want to do the 25 to 30 second shot, and the coffee that I have is quite dense. So I want more flavors out of it. Hence, I chose to do this. Well, next, I'm going to grab my milk. I'm using milk which is, for all of the vegans out there, I'm using 70% oat milk and 30% almond milk. This is going to make my coffee quite nutty, and the oat milk is going to give a lot of texture. And I am going to choose the alternate milk setting on my morning steamer, because this takes up the milk to only about 55-58 degrees. That's what it's set on the steamer at the moment. This is always better for the alternate milks. Dairy milk usually is good at 70 degrees, but then alternate milks are better at 55 to 60 degrees. So I'm going to steam the milk now. This also has a laser pointer to make sure you know where you're placing your steamer and how you have positioned your steamer. So that's one of its kind. No other steamer in the world has this feature. So the laser pointer is going to help me hold the steamer much better. I'm going to start. Okay, there you go, 60 degrees, and it's heating up right now, and it has started steaming. To be honest, I'm quite excited about this product because this is quite revolutionary when it comes to home milk steaming technology. The automation in terms of the temperature control, the automation in terms of the amount of steam, and all of that is quite unique to this machine. And the laser pointer really helps to make sure that I have the steam wand at the right location throughout my steaming, so that I don't shake it around too much and I get like nice silky foam. So right now I set it at 60 degrees, 58 and 60, it shuts off by itself. Beautiful steam milk, really nice, silky, smooth. I'm gonna grab my cloth. It asks me if I want to purge automatically, which is an amazing feature. It doesn't let me forget that I don't have to, I have to purge the milk, steam wand, as soon as I'm done. There you go. My milk is ready, silky smooth. My espresso is ready. And I go. There you go. A beautiful latte that you made at home, which looks exactly like how you would have it in a coffee shop, using an alternate milk and the beautiful Flair. So you have multiple models of Flair that you can use. This one's like the mid-range. There is a high-end ones which are pretty close to what a semi-automatic professional coffee machine can do, with a 58 mm portafilter where you would use professional distributor tools and your professional tampers. But however, I showed you like the mid-range, not the very entry level as well, so that you could make an informed decision on which Flair would suit you the best. The most expensive Flair going up to about 58,000 rupees, which is still cheaper than a good entry-level espresso machine. However, you do get entry-level espresso machines like these, which work on not a boiler, but a thermoblock technology. What is the thermoblock technology? It instantly heats the water when it goes through the thermoblocks and then dispenses. Usually what tends to happen is, over the years, the thermoblocks tend to clog up. Not even years, couple of months as you go, even though you're using clean water, they start to clog up, and then you would not get the intended temperature or the intended pressure because the pumps are tiny, and then you usually don't get the pressure that you actually want. So instead of going in for a super entry level coffee machine, I would recommend please go in for the Flair, because it is a little bit of manual, more work, but the quality of the coffee is phenomenal. So now I'm going to enjoy the coffee that I just brewed, and happy brewing.